Jonathan Frank is the first one on today. He's back from his trip to Narita, to Japan, I guess, flying for the first time left seat in a 777, if I remember well. Christopher Gillingham is checking in from Leamington this evening. Looking forward to the conversation. Chris and Jane Gillingham. Gordon Smith, of course, in Denmark. Hello, you lovely lot. Chamber of Commerce Day in Sausalito. David James is saying it is here in the Bay Area. Indeed, here in the marina. Rob Sternstein, hi to you from balmy Boston. John Emmett checking in from, I guess, from Weymouth. Not sure where. He is in the UK. Man of international mystery and moving around. We've got some breaking news from the America's Cup, as you can see here in the, what do we call that? Not table of contents, but for this show, the show outline. Speaking of the show, let's get this one on the road.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everybody. We're live again from Studio B here at the Beach Street Yacht Club in San Francisco's beautiful Marina District. I'm here with my host, Julia Vatican, the Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club. I trust you're well.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that didn't sound so good. Yes.
Sort of.
Sort of. Well, you're doing great, especially for an old gal. We're all getting old. In fact, we've been thinking about doing some sort of a what do they call it? Grandfluencers, as in grandparent influencers?
Yeah.
Are we really seriously talking about doing something like that?
Oh, we could.
And coming on here and saying, this is the product we use, this we recommend to you, whether it's a computer mouse or it's something you eat or something you wear.
Something you read.
Are we really going to do that?
I don't know.
What are the Fozzie thing? I think they think that's croutonic.
Yeah.
It's everything we can do to get two shows. Two shows.
Do a Joe Rogan style.
Well, we are Joe Rogan style. Now people is finding out who Joe Rogan is with all the controversy that's going on.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to show number 494 for the 8th of February, 2022. Delighted to have you all with us for TFE Live. We have a lively show, and we have some breaking news in the America's Cup that we'll tell you about live from Auckland, in fact, just breaking news out of Auckland. Before we get into all of that, thank Gary Jobson, who was with us on Friday announcing for U.S. Sailing the Rolex Yachtsman and Yachtswoman of the Year nominees, the short list. 5 men, 4 women, I think was the number. And it was a fun show. We covered not just that, but we covered a lot of other things. For the U.S. Sailing, Rolex Yachtsman and Yachtswoman of the Year 2021, the nominees based on their sailing achievements last year, here they are. Just a fantastic group. And Rolex sponsors this here in this country and in Canada and for World Sailing, and perhaps in some of your countries as well. Connor Bluen there in the upper left corner, Daniela Moros, Taylor Canfield, Laura Gress across the top row, Laura Grunden, Eric Champagne, and bottom row, Nicole Briot, Harry Melgus IV. He does look like both his grandparents. Dave Hughes and Anna Weiss, we would say here in the States. Bravo Zulu to all of them. Connor, I apologize to you for spelling your name wrong in the lower third, one of the lower thirds on Friday's show. A terrific guy who's very popular on here. I don't know Connor. If I've met him, I don't remember, but very popular on here, and Bravo Zulu to him. Also, Julia, Bravo Zulu to this club.
Aha!
What club is that?
It's the Royal St. Francis Yacht Club.
What's that city in the background?
It's San Francisco.
It is San Francisco. And if I go here to the Cam 4, St. Francis, of course, this is where Sail GP here in a month and a half, when they're here for their final regatta in San Francisco. There'll be a big tent here for VIPs. They've got facilities here in this club. There'll be some, look at that. I can turn that little speaker off. It's moving up and down my screen. I'll do that later. I don't like that little speaker over there. And I've muted the audio on this too, but that's Golden Gate Yacht Club. They're also taking some facilities in there, but this is our beautiful neighborhood. We are just off the screen here, about 3 blocks in from St. Francis here in the Marina District in the Beach Street Yacht Club. But the reason for doing all of this is to congratulate the 3, not 1, not 2, 3 members of St. Francis, Anna Weiss, Nicole Briot, and Daniela Moros, all of whom St. Francis members who have been shortlisted for the U.S. Rolex Yachtsman of the Year 2021. Bravo Zulu to them. And to Julia, your club.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
An adopted club for me. I'm proud to be a member, and our local yacht club now. Cool stuff. Let's see who all is here, shall we? We mentioned a fair few already. Ted Ryman is in from Cape Town, as always. Almost always from South Africa. David James, pretty nifty that 75% of the women nominees were St. Francis members. Indeed, David James.
It is, and they worked on it too. I mean, worked at sailing well and often.
Well, indeed, and they're terrific. And the club supports them. I think the key thing, Julie, is that the club supports so many of these people, whether they get shortlisted or not. The club, New York does it, a few other, Lauderdale Yacht Club, any number of San Diego do it, but St. Francis does a particularly good job of it.
And others who from the Bay Area who are super sailors and
exactly. And they become members, or they become racing members, whatever that title is. Peter Worcester. Hello, Julie and Tom. Thanks, Peter. When were there only 4 women nominated? Gordon, why? I think he means why were there? I'm not sure why, Gordon. It's a good question. They nominate, I think, just according to people who have really had a particularly good resume. And I think in a given year, you might nominate 5 women and 4 men.
Yeah.
I don't think it has anything to do with men or women.
No.
It's amazing to do 2 shows a week. Emmett says, big day today, watching replay. Okay, Pedro, foiling sailor down in Sydney. Replying to Christopher Gillingham, check out the comments on the Sailing Illustrated page. Yeah, you can watch. We're now, as you all know, we're co-streaming on YouTube. We're co-streaming on our Facebook, my personal Facebook page, as well as our normal big site, Sailing Illustrated, which is where most of you tune in. And that's the best place to watch all the comments, is on the Sailing Illustrated Facebook page. You can see them there, but we'll slowly work that out. Peter, go ahead.
Or wait a week or something, days, and you can get it all on YouTube.
Well, they're on YouTube now. The comments are live on YouTube now, but it's the commenting back and forth is it's not perfect.
That's right.
But,
okay.
All the best from the Vineyard. Peter Wharton is in Martha's Vineyard. Great interview with Gary Jobson last week. Yeah, that show's had a lot of views. Morris Stevens, I would call it the program agenda at the top of the show. The program agenda. A lot of you have asked for us to do that so that you can see what's coming up. And we do it in approximately the order, although not perfectly. But shall we get into it? Why don't we get into it, Julia?
Let's do. I'm anxious to hear the results.
The starting line. I'm going to get to the America's Cup in a minute. There's more important things in the sport than the America's Cup, including this cool new Olympic class that we've been talking about called the IQ foil. And I have a couple of videos. In fact, there's a series of videos. I'm only going to run 2 of them that World Sailing has produced with a company called Starboard. The IQ foil class, in collaboration with Starboard and World Sailing, have created a complete video guide to IQ foil, giving insights into the equipment setup and formats demonstrating exactly how easy it is to learn windsurfing, foiling, and racing with the technical beginner's education based on the RYAs, the Royal Yachting Association. That's the governing body for the sport in England, in the UK. RYA's windsurfing teaching models. The IQ foil video guide is here to make learning windsurfing and foiling more accessible than ever before. I think there are a total of 5 videos that are already posted. They all got posted today, and I've grabbed number 1 and number 5 just to give you a little insight into the IQ foil. Enjoy.
In our Learn to Windsurf video, we're going to go through the basics you need to progress your windsurfing journey as quickly as possible. From setting up the equipment to recovering the rig from the water and your first basic turns, all the way through to good stance, a sailing position, steering, and then starting to head towards the wind, away from the wind, as well as faster turns like tacks and jives. Let's look at the IQ Foil 85 surface to air and how best to set it up for a beginner windsurfer. So in terms of parts of the board, first of all we have the nose and we have the tail. Down the sides of the boards, we've got the rails. The most important part of the board to think about is what we call the centre line. Now this is an imaginary line that runs from the nose of the board straight down the middle, through the universal joint or UJ where our sail attaches, all the way to the back of the board. And that's the most stable point on the board and where we're going to keep our weight all the time. My last bits of setup then are my fins. My 41 centimetre fin is going to go in this slot in the middle of the board from below. In the rear of the board, I have this 31 centimetre fin and that helps me go in a straight line. Last little thing to look at then is my universal joint on my mast foot. So again, this is where the sail attaches. I'm going to try and position that in the middle of the board. However, using really small sails like the 2 metre, I might slide it a little bit further back to help the board turn more easily. The best conditions to learn to windsurf in are normally flat water, anywhere from 3 up to roughly 10 to 15 knots. As your skills progress, you can start to go out in windier conditions or start to increase your sail size. Approach the board from the opposite sides of the rig. Placing your hands and keeping your body weight over the centre line, grab the uphaul and check the wind direction. Stand up and lean back slightly. Use your legs, not your back, to pull the rig out of the water, working hand over hand, always keeping your weight over the centre line. Grasp the mast below the boom with extended arms. If you lean the rig to the back of the board, it turns towards the wind. If you lean the rig to the front of the board, it turns away from the wind. And with the rig flapping freely at 90 degrees to the board, this is your secure position. The secure position is the first chance to get the rig up and out the water, orientate yourself to the wind, and it's the beginning and the end of all the moves you do as a beginner. Pick a goal point ahead. Take your front hand off the mast and move it across your body and onto the boom. Step back on the board, pointing your front foot forward. Turn your hips and shoulders to face your goal point and draw the rig across your body and upright. Sink your weight down through the back leg, place the backhand on and pull in slightly.
Okay, you get the idea. It's a good video, isn't it, Julie?
It is.
I mean, I've learned quite a bit just watching these 2 videos briefly this morning. And this is just the first of 5, and I'm going to skip through. They go through tacking and jibing and recovery. I'm not sure what all else. But I'm going to go now through to the 5th video, which is the racing. I think we're probably all more interested in the racing formats, courses, and so on. Have a look at this.
The IQ Foil 85 offers exciting racing all the way from junior up to youth, and is a great first stepping stone towards the Olympic class of the IQ Foil 95. In this video, we're going to look through the different stages and the different equipment setups so you can progress smoothly and cleanly no matter what your age and what your level. We'll also look at the different types of racing, where they're happening, and how you can get involved. Now, under 15, under 17 and under 19 all use the same boards. And you can either use the IQ Foil 85 or you can use the IQ Foil 85 surface to air. Both are class legal. All the booms throughout the series are aluminium. The masts are high percentage carbon masts, and then the wings on the foil are the same carbon wings used at senior level, depending on the size. At under 15, you've got a choice of registering 2 rigs, the 6 and the 5 metre. Then your foil is the 95 centimetre aluminium mast, the 115 and 95 plus fuselage with an 800 front wing and a 255 rear wing. You've also got the fin as another option if the race officer decides that you're racing on the fin instead. At under 17, nothing changes with the board and nothing changes with the foil, but you have the option now of progressing up your rig size. You can still register 2 sails, but this time you have a maximum sail size of the 7 metre HDO. From here, you progress to youth. That's under 19. And under 19, we have two small changes. The foil is the 95cm carbon mast. The front wing upgrades from the 800 to the 900 front wing. That's the same one used at senior. And then the rig upgrades to a one design rig, and you can only register one, and that is the 8-meter HDO. That's the same sail that's used in the senior women's division. So any girls transitioning from under 19 youth to senior only have one small change. IQ foil is unique in sailing, as we use different courses for different conditions, so you really find out who are the best all-round windsurfers, and you can have the most fun no matter what the wind conditions are. In under 10 knots, we're looking at slalom and sprint slalom. Slalom is a 4-reach course starting with a reaching start. Each leg you do, you drive around the mark, racing all the way to the finish, with a course length being probably no more than 4 minutes. We also have the exciting addition of sprint slalom. You'll reach to a first mark and then have an open downwind, where you'll have to complete 2 jibes wherever you think they best suit. That'll then take you around a bottom mark, where you do 2 more reaches to the finish. When the wind builds above 10 knots, that's when we start racing upwind and downwind. And you may move from your heat or your fleet of 20 people into a full fleet race. And that might be up to 80 people on the start line. You'll race through an upwind start up to an upwind mark. You'll then race back downwind, usually through a gate, and that will mean you have to make a decision of which way up the course to go next. You'll race back up to the top of the course before completing a final downwind and coming through the finish line. These races last a lot longer, and they might be anywhere between 12 to maybe even 20 minutes. But the courses don't stop there. As well as slalom and course racing, we also have the marathon. This means you're out there racing for over 60 minutes. Now, the location you're racing will have a massive impact on what the course looks like itself. You may start with the entire fleet, and this could even be a rabbit start starting behind the boat. You'll do a variety of different courses during the week, from slalom, course, and maybe the marathon. Through the series, you'll be able to discard different points as you accrue your races, and this will lead to the final day. On the final day, we move into medal races, where the top selected sailors will then go head-to-head to find out who takes away the medals. The medal racing format is different again. In the lightest winds, under 10 knots, we move back to slalom to give the fairest racing. When it's above 10 knots though, we still keep the reaching start and move into what's traditionally called an America's Cup style course. A reach to a first mark with an open downwind, but then different to slalom, we go back upwind again to the top mark and then have 2 reaches to finish. These medal race courses are elimination format and might only last 6 to 9 minutes long. So whether you're coming in at under 15 or in at under 19, there's great, fun, competitive racing for every level and gives you a great chance to transition all the way up to the Olympic pathway.
I don't know about you,
Yes.
but a lot of comments are agreeing. It's just terrific stuff. And that's just 2 of the videos that they released today on their YouTube channel. I think it's on World Sailing's YouTube channel. It's also, I think, on the IQ Foil. I have no idea, David James, what the I stands for. John Emmett saying it's the small I, but the class is, I think, is going to boom. It seems highly technical, a little complicated when you get into the rig sizes and the classes, board sizes, and I guess the board's the same, rig sizes and foil sizes for the different age groups. But that may be the beauty of this thing, is that anybody inexperienced, young, and is who was asking about the geezer class? Jonathan Frank was asking,
Yes.
what about us geezers? And it looks like indeed a resurgence of windsurfing thanks to the foiling and to this class. Roger Lockhart is saying, love the different course configurations. Peter Stevenson, a.k.a. Pedro Foiling Sailor, love the professional and informative way the Palms, do these training videos. Looks like what the RYA would do. Chris Bulger, great videos to help attract folks to the class. Emmett is saying the beauty is it is a smooth transition. Yes, from the old Olympic class. Hi from Miami. Fritz Mueller is saying, looks pretty awesome. Alex Kent, is saying, Julie Aarons checking in from Cleveland. A lot of our regulars on here and some new folks as well. Welcome to all of you. Ed Vetrano saying, Julia, great to see a resurgence in windsurfing. Alex Kent saying, once he windsurfed in 70 knots on Lake Michigan. That doesn't sound like fun. Separately, we windsurfed as much as 12-foot waves on Lake Michigan. Blake Middleton up in the land of 10,000 lakes. And is it next Tuesday, the 15th, that we're doing our ice boating segment? I have to go back and look at my date book, but Blake is preparing that with one of his colleagues up there at Wayzata Yacht Club, and that should be a great show. And people talking about the various, what else, about which is the best place to go for the comments. But again, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see all the comments, but your comments won't be seen everywhere else. If you come to the Sailing Illustrated Facebook page, that's where all the comments, the best commenting right now is happening. And we're working on that as we move towards show number 500. Now, Magnus, I checked in with Magnus. He checked in as well this morning, and we texted back and forth. He's got some views on this that I thought we should share with you, and he gave me permission to use these texts. They're going, meaning this IQ foil, they are going to totally eclipse the kites in the Olympics. Pretty strong statement, but I agree with him. Brilliant class. I was watching a guy in the Solent this weekend, and it's just tremendous. My wife and I stood there transfixed, and it was freezing. All credit to them, great to see. And he went on to say, also the big trend to highlight, and he asked me to really emphasize this, is that all these foiling boats are becoming big boys' boats. Want to sail them off? Forget it if you aren't at least 88 kilograms and fit. Windsurfing, you need to be 85 kg with biceps like Rocky. Those fin sailors have got choices now, or so says Magnus, the magnificent.
Sounds right.
Magnus Wheatley.
Yeah.
And we'll see what other people say. But we'll feature some more of the IQ foil. I love the windsurfing. When we brought it into the Olympics back in '84, was I think the first time we had it. Had we had two events in '84, a demonstration event in the original Wind Surfer, and then what was the European knockoff was the Wind Glider, and that got used for the medal races in Long Beach. What else here? Anybody else on IQ foils before we move ahead? Jody Shields, Nathan Outteridge just broke the Heaven Can Wait race record on an IQ foil, completing the 30-mile course in just over 2 hours with a top speed of 26 knots. I didn't know Nate was doing IQ foils, but that sounds kind of cool. Lots of comments. Come to the WPNSA. Loads of IQ foil class to watch. Good. It may be a local phenomenon, but here it seems wings. Yeah, that's a good point, David James. And I was going to put a picture in, Julia, from the Current, which is the St. Francis Yacht Club newsletter that came out. It comes out, once or twice a week. Out. It's the electronic newsletter. Came out yesterday, and they are having in the next couple of weeks, maybe even this coming weekend, a big wing foil, meaning you're on a board with wings that are in your hands, not up at the end of strings, and that's the growing thing. That's the big deal.
It's easy.
It's easier and it's less dangerous.
Yes.
A lot more controllable. And David James is agreeing with that. He's saying, yeah, it may be it's not just a local phenomenon, David. I think that these wing foils, as they're calling them, are really going well. John Emmett, absolutely. The only section not represented is single-handed lightweight men at the games. It has always been this way. Chris Bulger, please don't eclipse the kites before Daniela can win a gold for Paul Kayard and the U.S. Chris Bulger agreeing, wingdings are coming, very fun. I probably missed some other comments up above, but Emmett, in fact, John's put a Facebook link to some photos. Yes, Blake Middleton will be with us next Tuesday, a week from today, with our ice boats. And they just had the 2022 DN, the Detroit News boat. It was never called the Detroit News except by people who are old and from Michigan.
Yeah.
The DN, the by far the most popular ice boat in the world, not just here in the States, but in Europe and elsewhere, Russia. And they've just had the 2022 Nationals. And as we explained to you before, they were scheduled to be at one lake in Wisconsin, I think, in Madison, Wisconsin. Then it snowed or it got windy or something, so they ended up moving to a lake in Illinois. And those videos are around too. But Blake's going to explain all of that. Blake and his colleague, whose name escapes me, a lady who is a keen ice boater and is going to be, Blake, maybe put that in the comments so we know her name. And we'll do a tech check, Blake, sometime that day, whatever suits you. Now, since we've been talking about the Olympics, let's go to our favorite Olympic coach, what I now call the Train Hard, Sail Easy segment with our master mentor, John Emmett.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Well, I said that the Tiger Trophy was going to be a big one, and it was. So you'll see me shortly, and I'm bearing the bang of honour from the weekend because no, I didn't fall down as I believe Tom did. I think it was last year now, wasn't it? I decided to headbutt my boat. So don't be too scared. But I remember saying to somebody on the Sunday that I think it was going to be a big day and I need to be really careful to get under the boom. And I was in such an effort to get under the boom, I just headbutted the deck. So don't be too scared. I was actually sailing along with blood pouring out my face because it's amazing what a small cut will produce. And one of the British coaches who was coaching the IQ foils at the time came up to me and says, you are all right, aren't you? You know you're bleeding everywhere and you have a head injury. And he sort of stopped directly in front of me while I was racing. And I think I was probably in third at that point because we have 2 races on Saturday and then a pursuit race on the Sundays. So because I sail one of the slowest boats, you know, we were right at the front, right at the beginning. I actually damaged myself on the first upwind, which was a massive upwind for an Ilka 6. If you look at Rutland Water, it's a very big piece of water. So I had a huge beat with a reach in the middle. So it was pretty hard work. So it was a beat, reach, and then another beat. And actually, when it came to the finish, I managed to finish having to do the entire upwind. So my pursuit race, although the race actually finishes at 120 minutes, my pursuit race was, crikey, probably another 20 minutes after that where it felt like it to get to the top mark. But yeah, it was hats off to Rutland. I'm so glad they did it and they allowed their competitors to make the decision to race or continue racing. It's a decision I had to make myself when the rib came up to me. Actually, I had to beat all the way in anyway. So I thought I'll see how it goes. Actually, I obviously was a bit dazed and confused because I completely overstood the windward mark eventually and ended up reaching in. But yeah, I was glad I persevered. I said it's really good that clubs are willing to race in the stronger winds because that's what we have to do internationally. Yeah. At the time, I thought I hit my head so hard I'd gone blind in my right eye. Because the vision almost immediately went and it went very cloudy and I was a bit worried about what was going on. And then after about a minute, I realised my eye was
covered
just full of blood, and when I wiped it, I could see again. So I could see on port tack, but not on starboard for a bit until the bleeding stopped. But yeah, I'm very pleased I went away. It was the 25th Tiger Trophy. And the last one in the current format because the charity has been sort of wound up. It's still going to be supporting good causes, but after 25 years, that was the final Tiger dinner. For example, we had on the Saturday night, and it was really good to catch up with friends, old and new. And I always say, you know, the social aspect of sailing is really important, and especially over the winter when there isn't so much class racing. For a lot of classes, racing will start in March, but my focus is still very much on training. So have a great show, and hopefully I'll be all healed up next time you see me.
Yeah, another great report. And we had the mics up.
Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
no, it's good. It's good to hear your reaction. Sometimes Julie doesn't know. I'll shout, okay, mic's coming up, so she knows the mic's. I'm going to put a light in here. This is on the air. Yeah, those were fireballs early in that segment. And the boat that's near and dear to my heart, having sailed it as a teenager in my early 20s, be leading up to what I hoped was going to be the 76 Olympics, and then they chose the 470. Clark Chapin, who's on here, sailed with me in my Fireball more than once. And Gordon Smith is asking about helmets and said that he had sailed a Fireball on Rutland as a teenager. Ed Vetrano says, I see the boat bite also broke John's razor. Well, let's go back to that, because, you know, that is nothing, John. You talked about me smacking my head. Was it last September or October? I can't even remember. Did I even miss a show, Julie, when I smacked my head?
No, we just had a lot of makeup.
I had a lot of, I think I maybe took one day off. I can't remember, but I walked, you all can't see the madness that's in the studio, but I came in here early in the morning. I wasn't even late at night when I'd been over at the yacht club, maybe having a cocktail or two. Came in here and tripped on the corner here and went head first into this bookcase here in the back and smacked my face. But, you know, it wasn't too bad. Nothing like John's.
Oh, yes. Oh.
Come on, John. That's not even that's not even injury. That's just
Mr. Raccoon.
Yeah, I can't even look at it. Okay, so didn't hurt much.
Oh, it looked awful.
But it looked pretty awful, and with the you know, a little camera control and a little makeup, and we were good to go. God, it was croutonic. Julia, what is that? Your watch, or is that something else? One of your boyfriends calling you again?
No, it's just that I forgot to turn off this watch.
Okay, let's turn that off. I'm going to turn your mic off for a minute and go to this WASP video. We've been talking about the WASP class as well, and they've also put out a long series of videos, a series of videos, which are really cool training videos for the WASP. And I thought right after John Emmett's training segment, we ought to have a look at these videos, or at least one of these videos.
Hi, my name's Matt Beck. This video is going to focus on tacking. My 3 key points for the tack are: speed is your friend, flat boat into the maneuver, and move your body quickly. Let's look at that in some more detail. First, let's look at the angle we're tacking through. Take a look at this footage from above and notice how sharp the turn is. In the jibing video, we saw the turn was slow and smooth, whereas here, we can see it is a very fast turn. The reason tacks are more difficult is because you have to do the same amount of work in a much shorter period of time, so your timing has to be a lot more precise. Whilst we're looking at the footage from above, notice the angle on the exit of the tack. It is slightly more of a reach angle to build speed out of the manoeuvre so that the boat stays on the foils. Now let's break the tack down from outside the boat. Before we attempt to tack, we make sure the boat is going fast, the body weight, rig and windward heel are all comfortably balanced. The first half of the tack has a gradual smooth turn up to wind. After head to wind, the turn becomes much more aggressive. When you start turning, keep your body weight on the wing bar. If you move your body inboard at this point, the boat will tip over to leeward. As you're turning up, squeeze the main sheet in. At the same time, take your back foot out of the tow strap and extend it towards the centre line of the boat. The boat will flatten off as you approach head to wind. Now comes the tricky part. You need to move your body all the way across the boat very quickly whilst also steering much harder. You need to trust that the boat will steer through a big enough angle that the wind will catch you on the new side without tipping into windward. As you move and push the tiller hard, it is critical that the boat is flat. Too much windward heel and you will bury the bow. too much leeward heel and the new windward wing will catch on the water and kill your speed. When you cross the boat, aim to land on your knees towards the front corner of the wing. This ensures your weight is over the larger main foil. Turn your body to sit on your bum and put your back foot under the tow strap. If you have moved far enough outboard, you will find your back foot naturally finds the tow strap as you turn. Next, change your hands. It is okay to let go of the tiller for a moment. The elastic over the tiller will keep it centralised. Once the boat is foiling, trim in the sail, bring on the windward heel and find your VMG angle. As we said earlier, the X angle is more a reaching angle, so it is really important to ease the main sheet so that the sail is correctly trimmed. If you don't ease enough, the boat will heel to leeward and will struggle to foil. Let's watch that again in full speed. Now, let's take a look at the onboard camera. Notice how far the tiller moves in the first half of the tack. It just about reaches the tow straps, whereas in the second half of the tack, it goes hard over and reaches a Z on the wasp logo. Let's go back through that step by step. Step 1, make sure you're going fast. Step 2, start to make the turn, squeeze in the main sheet and take your back foot out of the tow strap. Step 3, just before head to wind and with a flat boat, steer hard and shift your weight to the new wing. Step 4, ease the main sheet. Step 5, move to a seated position and swap your hands. Step 6, once the boat is fully foiling, trim in the sail and find your VMG angle, and that's you done. That's it for this tacking video. Best of luck with your tacks and watch out for more videos in this series.
Julia, I think we could do that. I want to try. I now want to get a wasp and try. I wasn't ever motivated until I saw these videos.
Yeah.
Really cool stuff, I think. Really cool stuff.
Oh, it is. It looks very exciting, and it is. It's harder than it looks.
But more importantly, these videos
yes,
that these classes are turning out are fabulous, and I wish other classes, and I'm sure they are, and we're just not seeing them all. But just great stuff.
Yes.
David James asks about the ideal weight. Emmett is saying, John is saying, replying to David, for a moth it is 90 plus kilograms. Not sure about wasp, probably 80 kg. Matt is an ex-laser sailor. I think Matt, who was doing that video. Blake said he'll take Julia out on a wasp.
Oh.
Interesting, Jonathan Frank, the pilot extraordinaire for United Airlines, interesting that they exit on a reach to keep it indeed on the foils. And he said several times, as you heard, Jonathan, you got to go into the tack fast because you're going to lose some speed, obviously, going through the tack, and you don't want to fall off the foils. Nice video, Ed Worley says, to help sailors figure out the best way to sail the boats. And now we're to 100 messages, no surprise, in the first 38 minutes of the show. What other? There are a bunch of good comments and other questions up here. Pedro, he thinks we should start a segment called "Look What Happened to Me on the Weekend." Portland, John Emmett saying that's where that was filmed. Yeah, Wet Hog, nice to see you back on. Rocky Raccoon, yeah, I did look like Rocky Raccoon.
Yes.
Gordon Smith, yeah, the headbutt event. Got that saltwater moose going on. I think there is no show. Okay. This special day in history, while we're on things British, I thought this would be an appropriate thing for not this day, but this week in history. It's hard to believe that it was on the 6th of February, a couple of days ago, 1952. Do you know what happened, Julia? 1952, this week. The Brits on here will all know because they're celebrating it. And here's your first and only clue.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Her Majesty the Queen, with her late great husband who died, was it April? Was it that long ago? Almost a year ago. Phil the Greek, the sailor, an esteemed sailor. This week, Queen Elizabeth II became the first British monarch to achieve 70 years of reign. 70 years. Which she celebrated in a quiet, private way with a small reception and by reiterating her commitment to serving the British as she did when she ascended to the throne at age 25 on the 6th of February, 1952, upon the untimely death of her father, King George VI. at age 56. And Prince Philip, just, he did a lot for sailing. Princess Anne, their daughter, the Princess Royal, has done a lot for sailing. I'm not sure Her Majesty's much of a sailor. She's more into horses and her corgis, right? Her dogs. But as we mark, this is a quote, as we mark this anniversary, I am pleased to renew the pledge I made in 1947 that my life would be wholly devoted to your service. She wrote in a hand-signed message published to mark the occasion and signed it, your servant, Elizabeth R.
Oh, nice.
Really nice. She had this is at Sandringham. She had just a private gathering up there of locals, friends and family and charities and so on. She'd also, commemorating the milestone alone, she's also, this milestone alone, having lost her husband of 73 years, the 99-year-old Prince Philip, who died last April. She marked the eve of her Platinum Jubilee with a special reception at Sandringham House on Saturday, welcoming members of the local community and volunteer groups to her private residence that's around 100 miles north of London. She's also laid the groundwork for her successor. Her message also includes clear directions for the shaping of the monarchy in the future, including her, quote, sincere wish that Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, the second wife of Crown Prince Charles, quote, be known as the Queen Consort, Queen Camilla, when he becomes king. When in the fullness of time my son Charles becomes king, that's the quote, of course, I know you will give him and his wife Camilla the same support that you have given me, the Queen wrote. And a nice occasion that I thought we should commemorate on this show. And the New York Times did as well, gave a royal nod for Queen Camilla. This was a headline. Caps years of image repair, writes the New York Times, the Queen's longevity, but also her immutability in a country that lurched from the storms of Brexit into the siege of the pandemic, have been an unmatched anchor of stability. And Julie, I don't know how we can do anything but give her this show's Bravo Zulu.
Absolutely.
For what she has done for God and country and the rest of the world, frankly.
Yes.
Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Bravo Zulu, and may she have many more years.
Indeed.
What is she, 90 what? 5 or 6?
3.
No, I think it's older than that. Whatever it is.
Yeah. It just said.
Did it say 93? I thought
I
I thought it said 95, but
Maybe it did.
maybe it did. Any comments here before we go? Let's go down here to the bottom. My gosh, a lot of comments. We love the comments. If you're new here, also say hi, welcome. I'm new, thank you, so we can welcome you properly. So it's a kind of peasant with the reply of Matthias Kahn. John Emmett, winner of the Clearwater U19, was a 16-year-old, not a big kid. I should probably start up at the top, but this year is 50 years for Queen Margrethe of Denmark. Yes, David James, we celebrated her on the show about a month ago, I think. Mm-hmm. The dish of coronation chicken was invented to allow people to celebrate whilst still largely on rationing, short of money. What was it? Coronation chicken after in 52, I guess. Lake Middleton, my grandparents were in England for the 1952 ceremony. I have pics of him with the Queen. He worked for Mobil Oil in England. I didn't know that. Great show, Phil Walker is saying, demonstrating the variety of classes in our wonderful sport. Pity the IQ is 10K, 10,000 in any currency. Yep. Yeah, Hamish Ross, the historian, is saying that in 1587, Mary Queen of Scots underwent drastic headache treatment. You know what happened?
Yes.
Yeah, Hamish, I was going to run that as this day in history, but, it's this week in history. It's QE2. I did, however, spend far too much time reading on Wikipedia about Mary Queen of Scots and about Queen Elizabeth I and the beheading. And
yes,
man, that was a complicated that whole thing was
absolutely
up and down, back and forth. She married the French king and became the Queen Consort. It was a different time in the 1500s.
But she knew what she was doing.
Well, I guess until she got beheaded.
Yes.
But then maybe she was happy to be. She wasn't in particularly good health, apparently, when that happened. So, there, but by the grace of God go any of us. Right?
Right.
What other comments? Need to remember an ILCA is 8,000, so the IQ foil is pretty accessible for Olympic sailing, John Emmett says. Clark Chapin, she's 95, thank you, and will be 96 in April.
Oh, good.
John was replying to Matthias Collins, Julia. Speaking of whom, where's your little book?
Yes.
Can you reach that? We got in the mail here from Matthias Collins this beautiful book. Matthias, thank you very much. Soling, 1965 to 2015. Do you want to read the inscription, Julia, inside that? It was really nice.
Yes.
We love it, by the way, when we get books like this from folks.
Dear Julia and Tom, thank you. I wish a fabulous 2022 for you and your sailing show. The one that kept my 2020 alive. It was an unbelievable acrotonic year. Spending 9 months inside my home. Stay safe. Hugs, Matthias Collins.
Matthias, thank you very much. That came from Connecticut. So Matthias is from Connecticut originally, and he's, of course, living down in South America now. But thank you.
Yes,
thank
indeed.
you very much. It's really nice. We love to get books like that. And any number of you who sent books, we'll put them here in the Beach Street Yacht Club library, as that one, Julia, will go as well. And we'll share it with the folks.
It's well done.
Jan Ling, the inventor, the designer of the Soling, and also the Yngling, famous yacht designer, Scandinavian, as any number of us are, including David James. Nice, Matthias. Stingray is saying it was nice indeed. Emmett's making one other comment about the IQ foil. That was a popular segment. John replying to Matthias, you also need to remember there is different equipment for youth and Olympic IQ foil as per the Sam Ross video. And Chris Bulger saying, after IQ and WASP stuff, the show was at risk of seeming almost cutting edge, but shaped it with complete review of monarchy highlights. Well, thanks, Matthias Collins. He's thank you very much. Now, you know, we got to take the old and the new and everything in between.
That's what makes sailing about.
And now, now we're going to really be progressive. We're going to talk about Sail GP and Ineos. I don't know if it's their sponsor, the funding, if it's what it is, but they are turning out videos both for Sail GP and for Ineos Britannia, left, right, and center. There were 3 today, and I'm going to play 2 of them. Go ahead. You were saying?
No, go ahead. You're
wiping your eyes there. I think you're thinking about the Queen.
I'm thinking about the Queen.
Let's look at this cool video from Sail GP.
On the foil first. That looks good. What's the saying, husband? What did you say? Whoa, what the fuck? Oh.
This is the capsize in Cadiz last year.
We're having a good day.
British team.
Had a couple of seconds, got ourselves into the final race. We had a really good start. We were in pole position, and then we just made a mistake on the reach. We had a massive gust, and we didn't trim the sails well enough, and myself steering the boat didn't help the trimmers to balance the boat, so we put the boat into a situation which ended up in a nosedive and a pitch pole. The goodness is that we've got all of the components across the wind range to be able to win races and win events. We've just got to try and avoid these costly errors, but that's racing at this level. I was impressed by the shore crew. You know, they're professional, they did a good job, they were straight in. We rely a lot on them, and we're very, very grateful for their help. Looking forward to Sydney. It's I think, probably my favourite place to sail anywhere in the world. The last time we sailed there was just a fantastic event, great condition. And so, yeah, we're looking forward to that. A bit of a regroup, keep trying to push forwards, develop in different areas, and keep trying to take the game forwards and get a solid result.
Stingray saying, bring on Sail GP, March 26, 27, then in Bermuda, May, for their season 3, May 22nd to the 23rd, and some other, they're talking about head wounds. Please, let's not wear helmets, but you know, you can if you want, whatever, do your own thing. individual rights, do your own thing. Now we have another video. It's also about Ineos Britannia, and it's more general. It's about one of their sailors, Neil Hunter, who has progressed from, in a trial series, then to being on their Sail GP team, now being on their AC team. A very cool video from Ineos Britannia.
His fitness is second to none, his commitment to the team and the results that he's had as a younger sailor coming through the academy that we had initially, having won the Youth America's Cup and then getting involved with Sail GP and other events at the top of the sport. He's a huge talent and one of those sailors you're going to see for many years to come in both the America's Cup and other competitions right at the top of the sport of sailing.
I didn't see that when I'm rushing around in the morning putting these shows together, and I look at the video at the top of the video, and I have to trim it from the black into the thing and do a couple of things. And then at the end, I didn't see that. When it went black, I thought, oh, God, the system's coming apart here. It was him not singing very well. But obviously a very fit guy, a handsome guy, and I love these videos featuring the sailors on all the teams. Don't you, Julia?
Yep. John says, replying to Matthias Collins, all Olympic sailing ends up having an optimum weight at club level or on very technical weight ranges tend to be larger.
Yeah, indeed. And it gets narrower at the higher the level in which you are sailing, obviously. That is true. Steve Adkins is replying to Matthias. John, what is the top optimum weight for IQ foil? Well, still figuring that out, Steve, so I'm not sure John knows. Blake Middleton, don't give up your day job for singing. He's saying to that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, that was fun. That's nice videos. And there are more. And if you are, I am addicted to YouTube. As Julia knows, I come on here. First thing I do in the morning, I sit down, I look at my YouTube subscriptions, of which I have 105. Okay, a lot of them are tech stuff, having to do with streaming and with equipment and so on, and news, but also every sailing YouTube channel, which there are increasing. There's any number of them. I have a subscribe, which is, you click the button like you can subscribe to our Sailing Illustrated TV YouTube channel. It doesn't cost anything. It's just you get notifications when stuff is posted, and it all pops up on one screen when you go look at your subscriptions. And it's nice to see so many sailing videos coming out now each week. Indeed, some days, as we've seen today, there were half a dozen. Quite cool stuff. Now the America's Cup, I know you want to know what this big news is out of Auckland. And it is significant. And I guess I will lead with it. I was, just before we went to air, I heard from Auckland, from one of our best friends down there. And this is a headline in today's, it's now Wednesday down there, but in the NBR, the National Business Review, accountant should assess America's Cup home defense option, says Mr. Dunphy. Kiwi Home Defense is prepared to pay for a Big Four review as the venue deadlines near. So this is news. It's real news. And it goes on to say, this is Mark Dunphy there on the left. I'm going to grab that photo. I have to use that one. America's Cup home defense campaigner Mark Dunphy has called on Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron to appoint an independent accounting expert to conduct a review of the funding available for an NZ-based defense of the Ald Mug. In a letter sent to the Cup Holdings Squadron's Commodore Aaron Young, Vice Commodore Andrew Aitken, and Rear Commodore Gillian Williams on February 1st, and seen by NBR, probably leaked to the NBR, the National Business Review. It's quite a popular business paper of record down there. Seen by NBR, Dunphy said he did not understand how the squadron could commit to any foreign venue without first undertaking independent diligence, quote, knowing that its decision will in all probability be challenged. I assume he means in court. Team New Zealand delayed the announcement of the venue from September 2021 to the end of March 2022 to enable shortlisted venues to provide more information to support their bids, well, to get their money together. The Irish Examiner reported in early January that a, quote, technical team, unquote, had visited venue candidate Cork in Ireland, the city of Cork, to determine the level of government investment required to host the regatta there. It is seen as a positive move for Cork, although Sail World, that's Richard Gladwell, reported the Spanish port of Malaga is also now an option. Well, we broke that news here, we're pleased to say. Either way, Dunphy insisted an independent review would give decision makers a better assessment of whether a home defense could meet the financial criteria set by Team New Zealand, which has an arrangement with RNZYS, the cup holding club, to run the event. The RNZYS should not wait until a foreign venue is proposed to conduct its own independent due diligence of the budgets and claims, Dunphy's letter said. It should undertake that diligence now, particularly as the home defense has none of the risks of an offshore venue. As all are aware, the RNZ is on notice that it will almost certainly, that's the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron, that it will almost certainly face legal proceedings if it decides to defend the cup at a venue other than a venue in New Zealand. Kiwi Home Defense, that's Dunphy's organization that he founded, has offered to foot the bill for one of the big four accounting firms, quote, which has no audit or other conflict, he said in his letter, to take a look at the financial case for a New Zealand-based defense, with a brief to determine that the funding available for the home defense exceeds the sum of $200 million. The total required is defined by the TNZ with its event budget of $80 million and its team budget of $120 million, and is therefore viable. Team New Zealand boss Grant Dalton has been vocal in his insistence that KHD, Kiwi Home Defense's proposal does not add up, leaving a $50 million shortfall on the required $200 million budget to run the cup and the team in Auckland, and has refused to further engage with Dunphy. Both men addressed the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron members at a meeting on December 9th and have continued to pick holes in each other's numbers. It's not the only thing they've continued to pick holes in. RNZ Commodore, Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron Commodore Aaron Young has been contacted for comment, but apparently has not yet been forthcoming. Here's the Kiwi Home Defense media campaign. As you've seen that slide on our show long ago. I guess I'll read a little more of this. The numbers, Dunphy's letter suggested that an indemnity offered by Team New Zealand to the squadron may not be adequate to cover inherent risks to a venue of other counterparty, including upfront funds paid by the venue, noting that the squadron disclosed net assets of only $10.15 million in its latest accounts. Quote, in any event, it is expected that the squadron would want to give its full support to an independent due diligence exercise to set its own mind and the minds of its members at rest about the viability of hosting the defense in Auckland. Okay, so you can see it's a long article. The link is NBR, a National Business Review, and it goes on talking then about the nuts and bolts. You see the very last sentence. KHD had come up with a conservative estimate of $70 million, but struggled to understand the rationale for Dalton's $7 million figure, the letter said, $200 million. While a reduction is possible from AC-36 to AC-37, and we ourselves have assumed a reduction of $20 million, a reduction of circa $83 million out of 90 for AC-36 is implausible. We're talking about income and so on. So that's the news out of Auckland. And we'll see now that Mr. Dalton, as Julie Ahrens keeps reminding us, does not want to and will not, apparently says he will not engage with Mr. Dunphy. But they've been very quiet. You've all been asking us. But remember, New Zealand goes into really their summer period, a hiatus, from Christmas until Auckland weekend, which was Auckland Day, which was last Monday. Is that yesterday? No, it was a week ago yesterday, yeah. I guess. And that's their summer. It's like August in Europe. It's a little bit like August here in the States, but things are back in action and session down there. And it looks like Mr. Dunphy's putting some more pressure on the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron to look at the numbers. Now, it's interesting because some of the venues that have been bandied about, including Malaga, are not looking so healthy. And we'll tell you about that in a minute. But first, some good news, some interesting news. I want to go to Julia to this video. I think you'll enjoy this. All the car heads on here, the auto heads, petrol heads, Clark Chapin will enjoy this, about the hydrogen chase boat that's being developed. Have a look.
It's been a steep learning curve for all of us. You know, this time a year ago we still hadn't started racing in the America's Cup actually, so it's easy to forget that for us guys that have been flat out with this boat. So we started later part of last year. Guys had a really busy build period because we were shut down for a little while with the lockdown. We delivered it to the base over here at the VEC end of the year, and we've been into this fit out period for the first part of this year. So all the powertrain components in, the cooling circuit is underway. Sort of 2-3 weeks from now we'll be starting to run the boat up out on the courtyard for the first time, and then early to mid-March we'll be looking to put the boat in the water and start the in-the-water testing.
About 10 metres long. We've got a weight of about 5.2 tonnes. Top speed somewhere around 50 knots is what we're aiming for. In a sense, this isn't too much different to like what we did with the 75 last time, where that hadn't been done before, foiling monohull like we did, and I think that's where Team New Zealand's certainly pretty strong, is making these what seem like impossible tasks happen, and happen to the highest level.
We can try and push a little bit of change in the marine sector by introducing this hydrogen powertrain. We're the first of its kind in New Zealand and one of the first in the world, so it's something we're really proud of, and proud of the Kiwi contingent. We had AF Cryo early on. They did a feasibility study for us and then introduced us to Global Bus Ventures, so they've been our system integrators on this project, working with ourselves, our mechatronics team and Toyota to come up with this system architecture for the hydrogen powertrain, and it's just a project we are immensely proud of.
Well, I think that's pretty cool stuff, but the flip side of this, of the economics and what is expected from the teams, and there's been a lot of commentary on that, including those of you here right now saying, Gordon Smith says, can't wait to see it working. Indeed. Tom Fishbeck says, more dollars. Yeah. Looks like a greenhouse on a pontoon boat. John Mangino, a hydrogen bomb. Well, I'm not sure of that. I'm sure it'll be safe. I hope it will be. Steve Atkins, 50 knots is a 30-footer. Wow. Helmet eye. Bill Wingrove replying to Stingray, another profit-geared boondoggle. And I want to go back up to Stingray's comment, which really kicked this all off. Yeah, it's carbon fiber, wet hog. Need that like a hole. W-H-O-L-E. John Mangino, is that a pun? He's a punster, like a hole in the head.
Yeah.
Now, Stingray is saying, rumor on the hydrogen support boats, vehicles, the HSVs, none of the challengers want these. $2 million apiece, and they cannot provide any actual support to the teams, including hospitality. Artemis Technologies has approached the challengers, that is, remember the former America's Cup team, which is now a technology company in the UK.
Yeah.
And I guess they're in the UK. Artemis Technologies has approached the challengers that they can build similar HSVs at a reduced price and have them waiting for the teams at a European venue. I also have heard other comments. In fact, first of all, Magnus Wheatley wrote extensively about this today on his blog post. If you're not getting rule69.blog, you should be. Go subscribe to that. It's free. It comes into your email inbox 5, sometimes 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. Right? Magnus does a great job. Go have a look. And he's written about that today. But I also got a call this morning from a senior serious person in the America's Cup world saying, nobody wants you. And I mean, I can't say who it is, obviously, but I wouldn't report it if it weren't true. And just saying nobody wants these boats. It is a boondoggle. It's got to be profit motive for Team New Zealand and for whomever else. What's going on here? And why are John Mangino need $200 million and you're building these? Wet Hog, how about testing to determine that these things can actually keep up with and maintain speed with? Yeah. Good point. John Ehman, Artemis CEO, multiple Olympic medalist Ian Percy, yes, who was with that team here in San Francisco and is now running Artemis Technologies. Thank you for that. What other comments came in? Talbot Wilson draft is about 7 feet with fixed foils. There's, okay, a lot of other comments. Julie, you always like to say at this point or at some point.
Oh, yes, you'd be depriving yourself of fun and info if you don't read the comments.
And one comment, Julie Aarons, is a positive comment saying this is a game changer, that this will help push along hydrogen power on the water. You're wrinkling up your...
I don't know why America's Cup should pay for that.
Well, that's what a lot of the other teams are saying. Ed Worley is saying interesting technology, but not really needed in the AC, just a distraction and an added cost.
Yes.
Interesting. Now let's go to the venue. Oh, go ahead, Julia.
Yeah, there's a comment from Stingray which says it is really strange how ENTZ et al. Are desperately trying to fight off instead of fight for a home defense. It's weird.
Does seem like they're trying to fight it.
Yeah.
You know, to fend it off. Fend off Auckland.
Yeah.
It does seem.
And Bill Wingrove says a little bit later, there must be something in the background that Grant Dalton does not want to come out in public.
Well, we've all been assuming that, but we don't know. There's some other comments here. John Lamberts Van Buren, who's in the Netherlands. Our city buses in Groningen have been running in hydrogen successfully for years. It works just fine, and conversion is not that complicated. The mindset apparently is. James Frederick Bland, who is a super techie guy, by the way, he's saying hydrogen is dirty tech. The hydrogen comes from oil. It's an interesting point. So does the electricity.
I know. Almost all energy comes that we have at our disposal comes using lots of hydrocarbons.
Stingray hydrocarbons.
I mean,
yeah. It keeps ETNZ's boat builders employed, and in a big ETNZ-sponsored Toyota, it's in ETNZ sponsors Toyota's interest. Toyota sells hydro-powered cars in the USA, mostly in the LA area. Are they still doing that, Stingray? Or has that dropped back off? Word safe and foiling hydrogen seems a bad mix. Well, maybe, but hello, everyone. It's Ken Saban, cold western end, Toledo, Ohio, Lake Erie. Alex Kent saying, I was driven in one of TS. Who's TS? TS's chase boats that he'd bought from an AC team, 4x300 horsepower, as I recall. I wonder how the hydrogen-powered chase boat compares total carbon footprint of each. Well, this will all come out, but it is interesting that they're doing. Clark Chapin, who is a engineer, an automotive engineer, and very knowledgeable about fuel. He's a fuel specialist, in fact. Interesting thing about fueling a vehicle with a gas rather than a liquid. As you compress the gas in the tanks, you must cool them because the gas heats up when compressed, yes. If you don't, after you get to full pressure and let it sit for a while you're down to 75, 80% capacity, not easy to cool the tanks because they're wrapped in lots of carbon fiber to be strong enough. Yeah, it seems, I think what a lot of you are saying, a lot of our foes are saying, Julie, it just seems like a bridge too far at this stage in the Cup. You're going for a technology that may or may not be interesting. A lot of people have tried it, but it's not moved very fast.
There yet.
You know, it's like saying, well, let's try to have nuclear powered or nuclear fusion or nuclear fission. Come on. It just seems like a bridge too far at this stage. And maybe it's for economic reasons and keeping people occupied. You can see there on our big picture that we're going to now talk about Malaga again. And thanks, Stingray, for the links this morning. This is what we told you on Friday. There were actually 3 stories. The America's Cup, this was Sur in English, which is a cool website for the southeastern part of Spain. The America's Cup will announce its choice of 2024 venue on the 31st of March, with Malaga, they asserted, the favorite. Capital of Costa del Sol, which is Malaga, is the favorite, in Andalusia, is the favorite to host the high-profile sailing regatta, although there is competition from Ireland and Saudi Arabia. We told you this on Friday. The 37th Cup, which will be held in 2024, has been mired in uncertainty since Auckland, the home of the last winning team, ETNZ, renounced its ambitions to host the competition due to a lack of government support. Valencia was also in the running, yada, yada, and that they pulled out because of lack of government support. That leaves Cork, Jeddah, and Malaga as potential hosts. This again in the Malaga, on that Malaga website, Sur, meaning south. Sur and Malaga. Malaga is the favorite, they assert. Cork may not have the facilities to host such a large event, and Jeddah may lack the leisure and recreational option associated with the America's Cup. However, Malaga's chances hinge on whether or not the redevelopment of the San Andres Marina goes ahead in a timely fashion. Overall, it is estimated that whoever hosts the regatta needs to invest between 75 and 85 million euros to make sure their facilities are shipshape. And that was Sir in English, sirinenglish.com, the name of that website. Pedro Luis Alonso and Ignacio Lillo writing that. And we told you about that on Friday. Now, there was we had that from maybe a couple days earlier. And on Thursday last week, there was a meeting of the Port Authority to consider whether to do this big marina project with Qatari money. There's a Qatari investment fund, which we told you about. I won't go back into all of that. But now the news from Malaga today, you know who that is, Julia? If you do, I will salute you forever. That is Carlos Rubio, the Malaga Port Authority president.
Yeah.
You would have been reading my mind or watching me prepare the show, because I had no idea until this morning who that is. In an article in La Opinión de Malaga, one of the local papers, the local paper, in fact, of record, Malaga bets on the Levante Dam. This is a Google Trends. The Levante Dam for the Copa America. Both the City Council and the Port Authority rule out locating the competition on the San Andres dock. That's the new development with the Qatari money. That has now been ruled out. The investment in the port is between 15 and 20 million euros or so, this opinion piece, this said in La Opinión. They went on to say near the end of the article, in the same terms, the president of the Port Authority, the aforementioned Carlos Rubio, expressed himself this week, who maintained that the celebration of the regatta is incompatible with the project that was awarded precisely yesterday in San Andres, that is with this Qatari development firm. For this reason, the port proposed, quote, other alternatives, unquote, that are awaiting assessment and that also look towards the Levante area of the Malaga dock where, quote, complex construction solutions are planned, unquote. Complex construction solutions, quote unquote, are planned, according to the port president, Carlos Rubio. Now, I'm telling you again, folks, that the chances of this thing being in Malaga, we've been telling you this, we first broke the news about Malaga, but the chances of having anything ready in 2024, let alone before that, because the teams under the protocol are supposed to be there a year in advance of the Cup. Chances of that happening is more likely that I or Julia will be the next Queen of England. And it's just not going to happen.
No, I don't think so. I don't see any way.
And I'm hearing that Cork is not happening, that there's just not, I mean, these you're coming out of the pandemic, you got all sorts of social problems, you got all sorts of problems, financial and otherwise, you got inflation going through the roof across the globe, not just here in the U.S., and they want to use public money to build facilities for the America's Cup and to finance one of the teams. I don't see how it's going to happen unless, Julia.
Yes.
Unless it happens in Jeddah. And I'm starting to hear again that Jeddah is the only reasonable alternative outside of Auckland. I'm hearing that again today.
Really?
And I wouldn't bet my life on it. I wouldn't bet the ranch on it. But I don't see how it's ever going to happen in Malaga. It takes too long. It would
be wonderful to do it there, but 8 years from now or something.
Exactly. In fact, in that same article, they were already talking about bidding on the next America's Cup. Getting ready. Let's start to do this now. Maybe we can bid on the next one.
They need a team. Never mind.
Cork, you need to train year-round. You need and Malaga, you can train year-round. Auckland, you can train year-round.
I don't like the thought of whoever wins the cup can auction it off. I think whoever wins the cup should celebrate it at home.
Well, I think we all agree with that. Not everybody. Julie Aarons doesn't agree. Let's go to the comments. Is Jetta making ETNZ an offer they cannot refuse? Ed, I think it may be the only offer outside of Auckland. I wonder what we can talk about in April. Emmett doesn't like talking about the America's Cup in the venue, but John, a lot of other people do. Steve Groover's replying to Monica Diaz, who is in Spain. If you convert to knots and use the boats that sailed in the last cup, there's some. Would you bet TFE Live show number 501? Well, that will be March. I think it looks like show 500, Julie, is going to be March 1st. I can't remember now if that's a Tuesday or a Friday. I think it's a Tuesday, but forget about that. The Saudis, Gordon Smith is saying, have just launched a major golf, not golf, but golf, meaning the game of golf tour, players being offered up to $20 million US to sign up. Yes, Gordon Smith, thank you for that. 20 million US. John Emmett, we'll talk more about you in April once this cup. I don't know if the cup venue is going to be resolved in April. I still wonder how the cup's going to happen in 2024, frankly. Talbot Wilson, who does a lot of PR for the Bermuda race, knows Bermuda like the back of his hand, as well as Pensacola, where he lives now, where he's lived for a long time. What about the rumbles from Bermuda? There was another article in the Bermuda papers yesterday. I think yesterday. I didn't run it because I just think it's the two political parties now, Talbot, launching at each other, and he said, she said, and the last cup was good. Well, the last cup wasn't that good. We can do it better because it's a different political party in power now, as you would know. Monica Diaz, blah, 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 same with SailGP, Cadiz, and at the end was wonderful. Yeah, but it wasn't like this, Monica. Alan Long saying, me in a tiara with two black eyes would be a hoot, especially if I had shaved for a couple of days. I only shave on Tuesdays and Fridays. Let's be clear, Blake Middleton says, Julia will be the next Queen of English. She's certainly the queen of TFE Live and the queen of...
Blake, I thank you, but...
the queen of the Beach Street Yacht Club, at least the Commodore.
Yeah.
Any other... Talbot Wilson, he told us this a couple of weeks ago, and I said I used this comment, a new comment. Talbot is saying, Pensacola Yacht Club's sailing director, a sailor from Malaga, who people say is quite a cool guy, by the way, says the wind is iffy, plenty of non-sailing days. Yes, it is, especially in August, summer. They'd have to run it in the spring, like we did in Valencia. You'd have to run it in February to May, and it's cold and can be cold and kind of dodgy and real windy in February, March, and then it starts to warm up. But there's no sea breeze in Malaga. It's weather system wind, unlike Valencia, which has a weak sea breeze, or so I'm. I think I'm relying. I know that from having lived in Valencia, but that's what I'm hearing from others. About Malaga. Not a lot of wind there. Seems Dalt is pricing every reasonable venue out of competition. Well, Julie, do you want to say it? We keep saying, why does the Cup have to be so expensive?
Yes.
Okay, it's the most prestigious regatta, most prestigious event in our sport. It predates every other international trophy by 30 or 40 years. The Olympics predates the modern Olympics, which was 1896, was it? And by almost 50 years. And New York Yacht Club ran it hugely successfully for years in Newport with a couple of people in a caravan, as the Brits would say, or in a trailer, as we would say, or in a little office at the Goat Island Marina, or even in a boat tied up in the marina.
Yeah.
And then the race committee went out and ran races, and then Bruno Troublé came along and said, well, we'll sponsor some Challenger Selection Series and professionalize this a little bit. And it was marvelous. It was wonderful.
Yes.
Do you think the regatta we talked about last Friday with Gary down in Perth was a dozens of millions of dollars? No, the Royal Perth Yacht Club built themselves a little annex down on the shore so they could run boats down there. And okay, everybody's got to have a little real estate play in the Cup, I guess. But they did that. And they didn't spend tens of millions of dollars to host that event.
No.
And the teams came and went, and 17 teams, 13 challengers, 4 defenders. What most of us who were there or have lived through it, Mark Reed and others who were there, would argue was the best Cup in the modern history in our lifetime.
Yes. It really pains me to see that.
huge expense.
Yeah.
No, this doesn't, even we went overboard here in San Francisco with that whole thing over on the east side, Piers 27, 29.
Yeah.
What else? Wingrove is saying, ever since a certain cup team started this foiling business, it has gone off the cliff. Hi, Don Lunabos up in Sonoma. Alan Long, there you go. Put the AC in the Olympics. Well, I don't know about that. Replying to Wingrove, Emmett is saying, foiling in the future, that cat will never go back in the box. I suspect John's right. I couldn't afford any of Lipton's boats. Gordon Smith is arguing against the huge cost. Yeah, but he was paying for it, Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
He was paying for his own campaign and his boats. So was Vanderbilt. Post-World War II period was an aberration. In many ways, AC is back to its roots now, Chris Bulger says, for biggest checkbooks only. Yeah, but does that make the regatta better? Jody Shields, when are we going to accept this is about filling pockets? Simple as that. Ooh. The viaduct is already there, meaning in Auckland, David James. You're absolutely right. What was the final bill for San Francisco? It was more like, I think, $30 million to put on the event and do the whole thing. Lipton made a profit on the cup, Chris Bulger is saying. That's true. Auckland has hundreds of millions in purpose-built infrastructure waiting for the next AC defense. This is ridiculous, Stingray continues to say, as he does on almost every show. Replying to Wingrove, replying to himself, it may once it hits bottom, I think Wile E. Coyote chasing the Roadrunner, I think of.
Yes.
Jonathan Frank saying, replying to Jody Shields, absolutely correct. Okay, well, I will assert once again that sooner or later, these two gentlemen are going to somehow sit down and not even tell us that they're sitting down. Somebody's going to force them to sit down, whether it's the court, whether it's Jim Farmer, whether it's the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron. Hamish Ross will be involved in that mix somehow, and they will all come to their senses when they realize that these offshore venues, including and especially Jeddah, are not viable, are not tenable.
Yeah.
What are the other words?
Practical.
Practicable.
Practicable
is even a better word. So Mark and Jim and Grant, please get together, figure out how to do it in Auckland, make this the best cup ever. And if Sir Edmund Thomas or Ted, the former retired judge, he says if it's anywhere other than Auckland, well, again, I repeat this slide, if it's anywhere other than Auckland, he is going to go to court. And God knows the cup does not need more legal action. I, having been in that movie, both prominently in '88 and, of course, in 2010, leading up to, and hope it never happens again, but it would put a spanner in the works. It would delay this thing a lot.
And increase the cost.
And increase the costs. Clark Chapin, are you saying that they'll do the right thing after they've exhausted all the other possibilities? Andrew Pindar. Hello, Andrew. He says, not Scarborough? Well, come on, Andrew. You could save this, too, by getting a bid together for Scarborough. Auckland, yeah, Tier de Jong is saying, Auckland will be superlative. It always has been. I mean, Julia, you remember the cup there?
Oh, yes.
In 2000
Yes.
and in 2003.
Yep.
And they were superb events. And even the COVID, I mean, despite COVID notwithstanding, I mean, this last event was just great. Look at all the local people. And
yeah.
Okay, and they've got COVID. They're forgetting about their COVID zero policies now. And I don't want to talk about COVID. No. We're going to have to get Dr. Andrew McIrvin back on here to talk about COVID, because did you see that report today from Staten Island, New York?
No.
The zoonotic
yeah.
about getting the virus from animals.
Right.
Well, apparently the animals are getting the virus from the humans.
Oh yeah, that was.
And Dr. John Campbell, the reason he's a bit alarmed about that is because then there's mutations that are going on in animals, and if it's transmissible back to humans, we could be going through it. I don't want to talk about that. We got good news. Denmark's open. The world is opening up. California is opening up. Australia is opening up. New Zealand is opening up, and I think most of the rest of the world. So let's get on with life and get on to one of my favorite segments. Speaking of Jody Shields. And please don't anyone send me this story one more time, because I've gotten it from a lot of you. I haven't run it, but today I felt, since so many of you seem so interested in it, I'd better run it. And I decided to run it in correct or crutonic. And you know what that is, Julia? The largest sailboat in the history of the world. Do you know whose it is?
Yes.
Mr. Amazon, Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
Now, there's a website that's mostly kind of a racing car type website here called, Clark Chapin will know it well, called jalopnik.com here in the U.S. Headline yesterday, nearly 3,000 Dutch people vow to throw rotten eggs at Jeff Bezos's, I think that they got a typo there. Look at that. Bezos is his name with an S, so it needed an apostrophe after the S. Mega yacht, at Jeff Bezos's mega yacht. Quote, we don't just take it apart for the phallus symbol of a megalomaniac billionaire, not without a fight. What are they talking about taking it apart? Not the boat. They're talking about taking the bridge apart under which this boat with its mast must pass to get out to sea from the construction site. A Facebook group filled with Rotterdam residents angry that their historic bridge might be pulled apart to get Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, there it's correct, S apostrophe, nearly $500 million pleasure craft, that's how much this thing costs, there is costing, getting it to sea. They have a plan. They will unleash their displeasure with a bombardment of rotten eggs. It all started when it was reported that Bezos' mega yacht is being built in the shipbuilding city of Alblacerda, I hope I said that right, by the company Oceanico.
Mm-hmm.
The problem arises when trying to navigate the massive 417-foot mega yacht to the sea. When it hits the waves, when it's splashed, it will be the largest such vessel in the world, sailing vessel. It has to pass under the Koningshaven Brug, which means bridge, the King's Harbor Bridge, also known as De Hef in Rotterdam. However, the masts on the sailing vessel are far too high to pass under the bridge. You'd think they'd put it under the bridge and then put the masts in someplace else, but apparently that is not possible.
Why wouldn't that be possible?
I don't know. Somebody on here will know. Tier de Jong is already commenting, who is Dutch. There's the bridge, the King's Harbor Bridge, Koningshaven Brug. And that's a picture taken on the 4th of April in Rotterdam showing this bridge. It's a lift bridge, popularly called De Hef. I wonder what De Hef means. Can somebody tell us? The Dutch port city of Rotterdam has not received a request for a permit to temporarily dismantle an historic bridge to allow the super yacht built for Amazon founder Jeff Bezos to pass, local media reported 5 days ago. So in the Netherlands, it's interesting, and you want some of the background in the call to arms, really. Rotterdammers are urged to take a box of rotten eggs with them to throw at the yacht. Quote, Rotterdam was built from the rubble by Rotterdammers, and we don't just take it apart for the phallus symbol of a megalomaniac billionaire, not without a fight, unquote, it reads on Facebook. Pablo Stroerman, sounds Greek and Spanish, 40, is the initiator of the protest, which in his own words is, quote, not too serious, unquote. Nevertheless, De Hef, the bridge, is close to his heart. Why? Because I'm a Rotterdammer, and I think people with a lot of money should realize that you can't make everything. With this call, we make our voice heard in a playful way, and I think that is going very well. Now, why are they so concerned about this bridge? Well, it's interesting. That bit of Rotterdammers building up their city from the rubble, that bit in the previous, about them building up their city from the rubble, is one of the reasons the Dutch are so angry about the potential of Bezos dismantling the Der Hef. The bridge was heavily damaged in a Nazi Luftwaffe in 1940, along with the rest of the city. The bridge stands as a monument to the pain and suffering of that war and the Dutch people's ability to rise from the ashes. Okay, so that's interesting.
It is.
Now, it's notwithstanding, Julia, it's been dismantled once before. And that caused a huge, I did a little research. And,
Good.
And it caused a huge problem when they dismantled it back in, I don't know, whenever it was.
Yeah.
Not that long ago, for another occasion like
But
this.
why would you build it knowing you can't get it off?
Well, because they want to make money in the yard. I mean, why would you not let them build in the yard? All the locals are making lots of money. Now you got to get it down to the sea and do whatever you could.
I mean, in the north of Germany, not that size, but routinely they take good big yachts.
Yeah, but
through
they
the-
don't have to take the bridge down.
No, but they take them overland, sort of.
Well, not
Through
this thing.
canals.
Not this. This is
No,
huge. This is
I know.
417 feet long.
Yes.
Final word here in that article. Ocean Company has submitted a request. The city council approved the dismantling of the bridge, but Money Control, another website, reports that, but nothing has been approved as of yet. The shipbuilders point out that this is the only way to get the ship to sea. So I ask all of you, Julia, I ask you, is this correct or Croutonic? Egging the yacht as they take the bridge down so it can get under the bridge and then put it back up. So there's all these local jobs in this huge yacht. Maybe other people will build yachts in the same yard.
It's Croutonic because they should have thought of it before.
But is egging the yacht Croutonic?
Oh, egging the yacht.
Yeah.
Well, it's not going to make any difference.
So we ask our Fozy, is this correct or Croutonic to be objecting to taking the bridge down? Or is it Croutonic that they're taking the bridge down? Should they, well, they gotta get the boat to sea. I mean, excuse me. Should they figure out a way to put the masts in? Obviously, if they could, they would. I suspect they can't do it. There's going to be a lot of fitting out. I mean, this is a huge undertaking.
Yes.
So what are the Fozy saying, Julia? Egging the yacht is correct, Chris Exley is saying. Dismantling the bridge is Croutonic.
Yes.
Ed Worley says it's Croutonic.
Everybody
Steve
does.
Ross says it's Croutonic.
Yeah.
Tier de Jong, who is Dutch, saying yes, the bridge objection is Croutonic. Matthias Collins says it's Croutonic. Don't object. He says the objection is Croutonic. It's time to do maintenance on the bridge. Dr. McIrvin. Hello, Andrew. Mr. Dr. Croutonic. Surely they would have worked this. They should have worked this out before. Yes, indeed. Rob Fry agrees it's Croutonic. they're agreeing with you, Julia. Stingray, it's a shippy subject, all right. I'm already getting ship-faced about the freaking bridge. Jody Shields, about that big, he is compensating for something. Well, that's what the egg leader, the rotten egg leader. Croutonic to egg, but the boat is ridiculous. Sternstein, yeah, Rob. They're the largest houseboat in Rotterdam. Most everybody says it's Croutonic. Put a crane on the bridge, install on the opposite side of the bridge. Well, I think people are saying it's Croutonic for different reasons. I think Hamish has got the right answer. Bezos will make a sizable charitable donation to the city to dismantle it, put it back. He's going to pay for it. He already said he'd pay for it. Probably, this is interesting, Steve Gruber is saying. There's a very interesting point. Probably no way to transport the masts over land. You'd have to helicopter them or something, which would be hugely dangerous and difficult. The idiots who decided to build the arc inland of the bridge shouldn't be shocked when they get eggs on the face. Steve Atkins, Croutonic. Yeah, I guess I just think, Julia, that the boat building company would have gone to the city council long ago and said, hey, we got this thing, we're going to take the bridge down. And if you won't let us take the bridge down and get this thing to the water,
We're going to take it somewhere else.
we're gonna lose the opportunity and all these jobs and all this revenue. And you got to agree to let us do this. I suspect that's what happened. I suspect the city has already said, wink, wink, nod, nod, when it comes to give you the permit, just like we did whenever the bridge went down. I think it was 2017.
Maybe the bridge is in need of repair.
Well, maybe.
And this would be a grand opportunity to do that.
John Lammerts Van Buren, who again is Dutch, saying spars are barged. No worries. Egging the yacht is correct. Taking the bridge down is Croutonic. Bill Haynes in Cincinnati. Bill, is your team going to win? Oh, he's not a Cincinnati fan. I asked him that before. I seem to recall a lot of drama around Abramovich's ugly duckling, Mueller said. Now, I didn't put it in here, I don't think, but maybe I did. I guess I did. We'll get to that. Okay, the whole fiasco is a bridge too far. Yep, just like the Auckland venue, the America's Cup venue is a bridge too far. Okay, I have we have a couple jokes here in our final D block in the final segment for this. But speaking of super yachts and this whole controversy, I thought we should take a look at this report that was in SailWeb, on sailweb.co.uk today, apropos all this. This from Gerald New. He's saying the super rich have been on a spending spree throughout the COVID pandemic that has taken the super yacht business to new heights, and no pun intended. According to Super Yacht News, 240 super yacht projects are scheduled for delivery in 2022.
Oh, amazing. Where are they going to park them?
Up from 157. It's almost 100 additional super yachts that delivered in 2021, which was a big number.
Yes.
The eye-watering expense of these ever bigger yachts is not normally a cash deal. The share value backed billionaires, they use their shares, their stock portfolio as collateral for huge loans, prefer to raise enormous loans and keep their cash and their shares safe. But lenders to the super rich have begun looking at the increased risk for billions of loans provided to high net worth clients backed by their personal shareholding value for their jets and super yachts. So Gerald New is writing, the standoff between Russia and the West going on in Ukraine right now could have a knock-on effect for the super yacht business following the threat of sanctions against the allies of Russian President Vladimir Putin. If he invades Ukraine, the big financial institutions and private banks that have people that provide low-cost loans to oligarch billionaires to fund these ultimate wealth symbols have begun to offload their potential risk. That is, the institutions. So writes Gerald New on sailweb.co.uk yesterday. Go look at his article if you want. Very interesting piece. Thanks, Gerald, for picking that up. And I thought you all, apropos, talking about Jeff Bezos' largest ever sailing vessel. Julia, since Andrew McIrvin's on here, I thought we should dedicate this to him.
Oh, well, he'd be right at home.
Medical school graduation counts. Okay, it's silly. Alan Long, I love our sport, Crutonic or otherwise. Yeah, we love Andrew McIrvin. We got to get him back on. Finally, this one dedicated to Ted Ryman, dedicated to Stingray, who sent the funniest and dirtiest. This isn't even dirty. Let me clarify. I'm sick as a dog, but I'm not as sick as my dog. You don't think that's funny? You don't have a dog. You like cats or dogs?
I like both of them.
I thought that joke was funny. I had to run it. So it's something funny at the end of the show. Okay, last comments here. Smith is saying, Gordon's saying, ha, 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 reply. Yeah, who said they could put the mass, did I read that one? Mass on a barge and barge them under the bridge. I don't know. Where the heck are 200 super yachts going to park in Cork in front of the Fox and the Hen?
Where are they going to park anyway?
Well, there's plenty of places to park super yachts. People want the super yachts to come.
200 of them all at once?
Well, maybe not at once.
I don't know, but I mean in Europe probably.
Well, no, they're all spread. You got Monaco, you got Palma, you got Valencia, you got apparently Malaga's going to be able to take care of a couple. You got lots of. You got Sardinia, you got Corsica, Sicily. You got lots of places that people like to go. They go to the Caribbean, they go to New Zealand, they go to Australia. Great for the boat building industry, keeping craftsmen employed.
Yes.
204, Chris Bulger saying 240 super yachts, and we wonder why the cup has changed, indeed. Antibes, John Lambert, the whole Caribbean. We didn't mention the Caribbean, exactly. The thing about super yachts, David James is saying, is that they are the only way to spend a lot of money. It is almost impossible to spend more than $100 million on a piece of art or a house or a jet, but you can spend more than $300 million on a yacht. Well, witnesses 500, but it's $500 million on a yacht. Hard to believe. That gets us to the finish line, Julia. And you want to say your thing?
Yes. Please take this opportunity to like, follow, and share. And know that you are helping us a lot.
Indeed. Comments are welcome too in replay. Those of you watching in replay rather than live. We appreciate all the comments, and as Julia says, the like, follow, and share is good. We also really appreciate support via Patreon, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Give us a few bucks a month to help us keep this show on the air. Julia, last thoughts? I thought it would be a short show today.
Yeah, I did.
And it's still an hour and 40 minutes.
I know.
And I left a lot of stuff out. People send us stuff. I mean, we have, and I appreciate it. All of you who send us stuff, It doesn't all make it into the show, but we really appreciate all of it.
Keeps.
Don Lunabos, thank you. Julia and Tom, keep it going. Thanks, Gordon Smith. Thanks to all of you. And we do this not for ourselves. We do this for all of you and this wonderful community. And I see increasingly, Julia, that this whole group that's on here is talking to each other all week long on Facebook and otherwise.
Yeah.
Thank you, as always, soon to be Queen Julia, Blake Middleton is saying. Indeed. Stingray, perhaps the towns building all these super yachts should consider erecting bridges downstream. My stuff, where was it? My stuff is too finger waggy lately, right? Yeah, Ted sent some waggy stuff. We could almost do our own show with Ryman's stuff. Speed skating. Great show, blows by in a flash. Thank you all. We appreciate very much you're joining us. Hope to see you on Friday. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun.